right, we are here at my VermiHut indoor worm bin, and things look a little different here because we used a brown grocery bag instead of a newspaper. And last time was a bit of a wild feeding because we put down a bunch of toilet paper rolls and a paper towel roll for bedding, and we fed Guava for the first time ever. Also, last time we checked out the inside of the unique VermiHut worm tower lid, and we added a bottom inoculating tray. So let's go ahead and get in here and see how things went. Now, first thing I see is that the brown paper bag is like this. I thought I'd put it in here kind of vertical way. So let me go ahead and lift this up and see how everything is going. Now, when we were in here, we had a humongous hump in the middle, and that was because those toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls had added a lot of volume to it. And any worms that you see here that I'm not quite getting up, I will go ahead and put back in the bin when we put this back in. So let's assume that I fed this way. Hopefully that's the case, and we'll go ahead and dig in. Now, in addition to that guava, we also put down some banana peels across, so those would be right on top. And in order to kind of do a control with the guava to see if it's a fast food or slow food, we put some apple on either end of it to just kind of act like a control to see what a slow food would look like compared to the guava. So I think what I need to do is dig in and see if we fed this way or we fed this way. So here we go. And right here, I'm feeling nothing but some worms. So I'm thinking, yeah, I would expect to see a little bit of food here. It's been 9 days, so I think we probably fed like this. So let's go ahead and look in. And sure enough, I'm definitely feeling some stuff. Here is some of the banana peels. They ate all the little mushy stuff or remnants of banana off of it, and all you see is just a very flimsy piece of banana peel. And sure enough, here's some of the toilet paper rolls or paper towel rolls. They're starting to get into it, putting their castings in, and also eating it a little bit, and almost a little worm ball there. What I see here are mostly blue worms. I have both red wigglers and blue worms in this bin. So we'll set that to the side and let's keep digging in. See if maybe we find that piece of apple. Not seeing it yet, but lots of worms and some little pieces of something. I don't know if that is the tiny seeds from the guava or what is going on here, but I think those are just little seeds, which to me means that the guava might be a fast food because I just am not seeing any of it. What I'm seeing is lots of worms all throughout. I mean, this is a tiny little golf-sized ball, worm ball, and they are all around something, but they are doing good. Right here is a red wiggler amongst all those blue worms. Right here we put a lot of the chopped up guava, and I don't see it, so I'd almost have to classify it as a fast food for being gone in 9 days and just kind of seeing the seeds. Now, this bin has 4,000 worms, so any food that goes in here really doesn't have too much of a chance. And look at that. Another just really good little worm ball right here. And it looks like they're around a bunch of coffee, I think, that we put in here. And again, the guava seeds. No sign of the guava, not even the peel of it. That's fantastic. All right, let me keep digging through here and kind of lifting up. This is the paper towel roll, so lots of castings all over it. And inside, let's see what they've done with it inside. Not too much other than kind of hiding out, and maybe in the one end of it, some castings here. So good enough. We'll go ahead and put that to the side, and we're just going to put that in the bottom of our next feeding zone. Let's keep going through. This is great. They're doing good. Now, what I like to do with my bins is kind of air them out every time I feed, every 7 to 10 days. And that just helps to make sure that there's oxygen all throughout and that none of the areas of my bin are getting anaerobic. We don't want that to happen because that can lead to ammonia or fermentation. And again, you can see the paper towel and toilet paper roll kind of matted together, and when they mat together like that, you won't see too many worms or even any kind of degradation. So that's another reason I like to kind of break things up. I'm not in here except for to feed them every every 7 to 10 days, other than maybe to lift the lid up. But other than that, I'm not digging in. So these worms really are not touched all that much. And look at that. We've got a good example of lots of blue worms and a red wiggler that are just coexisting. This bin has lots of both of them. This right here looks possibly like a piece of skin of something, possibly a fruit or maybe even one of the guava. But again, no signs. 9 days, no signs, 4,000 worms. So if that kind of gives you a idea. And this is the mango seed. They're still loving the mango seed. Now, the mango versus apple was an experiment I did, started about 32 days ago, and the mango went first. They absolutely just tore through the mango, and the apple took a little bit longer, but they are still getting to the last bit of dried fibers on this mango, and it's definitely attracting them, along with some of the coffee that is on there. Now, this has been the top tray for about 46 days, so we're about 2 feedings away from it going down below to be a pre-harvest tray. And then about 60 days after that is when I will harvest it of all its castings. So what I want to do today is I want to add a lot more bedding to try and get the volume up, and we'll add a pretty good feeding. All right, so what I'm going to do is go through all the areas and aerate them, and then we'll set up a feeding zone. And I will go this way for the feeding zone. I think I found where all the red wigglers like to hang out. They're in a space right over here, but you can see just kind of the difference in the girth of a red wiggler versus the blue worms that we saw. And one way to check the difference is via the clitellum, which is bulging in a red wiggler, whereas it's more flat along a blue worm. They're about the same length, and just the red wigglers a little bit more chunky. The other thing is, I realized we put a really huge feeding in here. The executive producer was just mentioning that. And we had 3 or 4 banana peels. Those are gone for the most part. We had pieces of apple, both gone. We had a little bit of strawberry there and all that guava. So these worms can really eat a lot. Now, if you only had 100 worms or you had 1,000 worms, they're not going to eat as much as you saw them eat between the last 2 feedings. So just make sure that you're feeding according to the number of worms you have. Don't just look at this and think, oh, okay, I just got some worms. I'm going to put exactly as much as he puts in there. That just will not work out well for your bin. All right, so what I have done is really fluff this up. The amount of castings and everything is really close to the top here. So I'm going to keep adding a bunch of bedding, and we'll put in our banana and strawberry feeding. And as the days go on, it's going to sink down and allow us to keep adding more bedding and food on the next couple feedings before we harvest this. So let's go ahead and get our feeding zone going. So my bedding of choice is cardboard. I have a lot of cardboard boxes that come and go through our grocery store and through getting packages delivered, so I like to dispose of them through my worm bins. I also occasionally will add some bills in here and some newspaper. Other people use leaves and outdoor stuff. I sometimes use that in my outdoor worm bin and through my regular compost that I then put in my outdoor worm bin. So here's what we had in mind to feed. My mom has given me a lot of food scraps. We've got some strawberries and some bananas that went bad. It looks like a whole bunch. So let's go ahead and get these in, and we'll see how they do over the course of a week. As I put each of these in, I'm just going to make sure that they are broken at least a little bit so that the worms have access to them. And I think I'll put in about 3 or 4. Got another one to break up, and you'll notice that all the food that I feed is previously frozen. I then take it out and let it thaw for a little bit, just so I can manipulate it a little bit. But that freezing it breaks down the fruit or veggies that I feed at the cellular level. Water expands when it freezes and helps to burst the cells, which then help the plant material to just decay and wither, which allows the microbes and the worms to get to the food. Now, within this, the banana portion is a very fast food. The banana peel itself is a slow food. With our strawberries, let's go ahead and pull those out. The strawberries are a very fast food, but the green part tends to be a slow food. So you'll see me put a lot of strawberries in. Florida is one of the greatest places to grow strawberries, so we seem to always have an abundance. both in the garden and in our grocery stores. So look at that. We've got some great strawberries and bananas. This is a really good feeding. I think the worms are really going to enjoy it. So let me go ahead and add our amendments, and then we'll bury it up and finish this thing up. So one of the first amendments I've been adding lately are pulverized oats. I happen to have a full 2-pound container that was 4 years expired, and I've been doing this since February. It is now July. So I have just been pulverizing these oats and adding them to the worm bin, and they seem to be loving them. So if you have any expired grains in your pantry like I did, 4 years is a lot of years to be expired, but go ahead and grind them up and put them in your worm bins. Next, we collect our used coffee grounds and our used tea grounds, and we just put them in this container and we feed them to the worms. It is a great food source for them because it is finely pulverized and they can eat it right away. I'm just gonna kind of break up some of these bigger chunks. When it's chunked up like this, it takes them a long time to get in, so I just kind of like to make it more powdery for them. And the final thing I add is pulverized eggshells. I just take my eggshells, lightly clean them, let them dry out. Then I store them and grind them whenever I need to in my little Magic Bullet blender. Now, when I do blend them in the Magic Bullet, because they're so sharp, it puts a little cloudiness to the container. So if you're doing that, just save a container specifically for grinding your eggshells and that kind of thing. And I have affiliate links if you're interested in seeing how much those Magic Bullets cost or any of my worm bin supplies. And the last thing we'll do is we will top everything off with this mango seed right here. They seem to be enjoying it. Now I'm gonna bury this up and we're gonna do one more type of feeding, and that is a top feeding. And I've been doing it with just pulverized oats, but I'm gonna do something different this time. This worm bin has that unique lid, and the space between the top of the feeding and the worm bin lid creates almost like a terrarium, a very humid area that the worms go freely. So on a normal worm bin, your worms may not cruise around on the top. But in this, when I lift the lid, the worms are just all over the top, especially if I have something like oats or something like that in there. So what I'm gonna do is put a whole banana right on top, and over the next 7 days, I'm gonna come in here and kind of film what they're doing with that banana. And I'm hoping that they will eat it in the time that we take all those little time lapses. So let me get that set up for us. So first things first, we'll just add our pulverized oats. And I do these very thinly. You don't wanna just pile them on. They will mat down, they'll get wet, and then almost like cement, the worms will not get to them until the microbes have really just taken them apart, which could be weeks. But otherwise, something this thin will be done in days, maybe like 2 or 3 days. So I've got a perfect banana for it. I'm just gonna break it up in a couple areas, and we will see what they do over the course of the next 7 days. So let's put on our grocery bag. See, that one little worm made it. If you saw it when I took it away, he's still on there. And what I'll do from here on out is I will just pull the lid off. I'll pull this paper off, and we'll get to see what that banana is doing. So I hope you all are having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing well, and happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.